In the quiet corners of the night, where even the moon forgets to shine, a whisper rises, soft, trembling, carrying the weight of an unfinished story. Your name floats through the darkness, not as an echo, but as a heartbeat searching for a place to rest. Some nights the desert forgets its storms. Some nights the heart forgets its wounds. But tonight it remembers everything. Every step, every breath, every unspoken word. You left hanging in the spaces between us. If love is a journey, yours is a road carved through shifting sands. Yet somehow, you still walk steady, as though destiny follows your footprints. And I remain the silent traveler, learning the rhythm of the wind, just to understand how your soul speaks without sound. For in this world of noise, only one thing brings peace: the way your silence still remembers my name. In the quiet hour before dawn, when even the desert refuses to breathe, Fazza walks alone with 1,000 stories, resting heavy on his shoulders. Stories the world will never hear, but the sand secretly understands. He is a prince, yes, but also a man who feels too deeply. A heart stitched with courage, but softened by love that never found a home. Some nights he looks at the sky and wonders if fate ever gets tired. Tired of hiding answers, tired of testing souls, tired of sending storms to those who only wished for rain. And yet he stands, tall, steady, unbroken. The desert wind knows his name, not because he rules it, but because he listens when no one else does. His silence has weight, the kind that holds the world steady when everything else is trembling. And somewhere far away, a woman he once loved still feels his heartbeat. In the quiet moments she pretends not to miss, for love like his doesn't fade, it simply hides. In the spaces between yesterday and tomorrow, in the silence between two heartbeats, his name still rises like a prayer, soft, trembling, uninvited. Even when she tries to forget, the desert winds whisper his warmth, like an old secret refusing to die. She walks away, but the memories follow. Footsteps of a love that once ruled her soul, a love too strong to hold and too painful to keep. He looks toward the fading horizon, eyes heavy with the weight of unsaid words, wondering if destiny ever regrets the stories it writes too beautifully, only to end them in tears. But somewhere in that quiet distance, their hearts still meet. Not as lovers, not as strangers, but as echoes of what once was, and what could never be again. She thought distance would save her, that miles could bury a memory, that silence could kill a heartbeat, that once knew only his name. But love is not so kind. It returns in the smallest moments. A scent in the air, a voice in a dream, a sunset that glows the same color as the day he first held her eyes. He too pretends to forget, yet every poem he writes trembles with the shape of her presence. Every breath he takes remembers how she once fit into. Tonight the moon hung low over Dubai, as if it too carried a heaviness it could not explain. Fazza stepped out into the silent breeze, and for the first time in many nights, he allowed himself to feel everything, without hiding, without running, without pretending the ache had softened. The desert stretched before him, endless and ancient, yet it felt smaller than the space inside his chest. Because memories, they don't ask permission before returning. They arrive like sudden storms, uninvited, unstoppable, unforgettable. He remembered the way she used to speak. Not loudly, not boldly, but with a softness that could steady mountains. One sentence from her felt like the world paused to listen. He remembered her laughter, the way it danced through his mind, long after she had walked away. Some people leave, but their echoes stay behind. unwilling to release the walls they cling to. Tonight he let that echo fill him again. He whispered her name, so quietly that even the night had to lean in to hear. Names hold weight, and hers still pulled him like gravity. He closed his eyes and saw flashes. Her hands, her eyes, her silence, her goodbye, a goodbye that still felt unfinished. And in that stillness, Fazza finally understood something he had tried for years to ignore. Some loves do not end. They simply become part of who you are. She was gone, but her presence remained, stitched into his heartbeat, woven into his breath, written in the pauses between his thoughts. Tonight he did not fight it. He accepted it. Because real love doesn't disappear. It transforms. It turns into poetry, into loneliness, into strength, into a reason to walk forward. The desert wind touched his face gently, as if reminding him that memories don't break you. They shape you. So he stood there beneath the vast, aching sky, carrying her name not as a wound, but as a whisper of who he once was, and who he still is. The quiet corners of his palace nights, Fazza sat alone, holding memories like fragile glass. The desert winds whispered her name, as if the universe itself refused to let her fade. He closed his eyes, and suddenly she was there again, smiling softly, eyes carrying the calm of 1,000 sunsets, voice gentle enough to guide storms into silence. He remembered the way she entered his life. Not like lightning, but like dawn, slow, warm, unstoppable, a queen of her own world, yet simple in her touch, older, wiser, deeper than any poem he had ever written. She taught him that love isn't a flame. It's a breath, a patience, a truth that returns even after being broken. Tonight, as the moonlight fell over Dubai, he whispered into the emptiness, "Some souls are not meant to stay, but they never truly leave." And in that moment, he realized something powerful. She was not just a chapter. She was the ink, the reason every page still glowed with meaning. Her silence was not empty. It was a whole universe, where his tired heart finally found rest. Fazza, the prince the world adored, became just a man in the quiet presence of the woman who understood what no one else could see. When she looked at him, she didn't see the crown. She saw the boy who once dreamed beneath the Dubai moon. She didn't see the prince of a nation. She saw the wanderer who carried old poems in his chest. He had walked through deserts. He had raced across horizons. He had tasted victory and applause. But nothing settled his soul until he found the warmth hidden in her calm, gentle voice. She spoke little, yet every unspoken word felt like a prayer he never knew he needed. He breathed slower beside her. He lived softer beside her. He became human beside her. And on the night, when the whole sky over Dubai glowed gold, he whispered to her, "Your silence is where my storms finally sleep." She smiled, and the moon above them trembled, not in fear, but in awe of a love so quiet and yet so powerful that even the desert wind stopped to listen. This was not fate. This was not destiny. This was two souls, finally finding the room where they truly belonged. In the quiet hours before dawn, when Dubai still sleeps beneath its golden dreams, he stood alone on the palace balcony, a prince wrapped not in power, but in pain. Fazza, the heartbeat of a nation, yet tonight his own heartbeat trembled, like a candle in a storm that refused to die. He remembered her, not by her name, not by her face, but by the feeling she left behind, a feeling that even the desert winds could not erase. She was older, wiser, carrying stories in her eyes that no young heart could ever understand. But he understood. He loved not her youth, but her depth, The kind of depth where a man either learns to swim or chooses to drown. He chose both. And in that choice, he became human first, prince second. Tonight, the moon looked down at him, as though it knew everything. Every promise whispered, every fear hidden, every goodbye that broke him quietly. People saw him as Dubai's pride, but she saw him as a man who wanted to be loved, not for his crown, but for his heart. And that is the love he still carries like a desert secret, one the world will never know, but one his silence will forever remember.